Alright, and welcome back to Zero Cool Gaming in today's long play of Kingdoms of Amalur with commentary. And today I'm going to be reviewing a show called AD Police. It is an anime. I guess you'd call it science fiction. It's set in the future. Don't know how far into the future they presented it. I don't remember. The story's pretty forgettable, truly. It's an action-adventure anime. Kind of a police story, but more of like a police investigation, where they don't tell the investigators what they're actually investigating. Corporate corruption, that sort of thing. And it does hit on a few kind of controversial. Wow. It does hit on a few controversial topics. One of those topics is what makes a human being, or what makes a conscience in that respect, or a living being at all. Now, it doesn't take a very large, no, that's not the right word. It doesn't go into this topic on a very deep level at all. And there's been plenty of shows and stuff that have talked about this. I mean, you got like Terminator, Dune, The Matrix, Warhammer 40K. I mean, there's a lot of different media out there that on some level covers this topic. And how they particularly went about covering this topic here was to well, how do I explain that in a way that's going to make sense? Well, anyway, the way that they decided to cover that topic in AD Police was in the idea that a human consciousness could be placed into a creation of mankind, something that we create, a machine, basically, a synthetic reproduction of a human being. That's really what they were creating, or trying to create in that respect. That is the weirdest thing I have ever seen.
Making progress. Hunting the antelope easily enough? Nothing like felling a gentle creature and ripping guts from it. Hurry back!
And while I don't agree with that at all, I don't think that that's something that is actually possible. And there's several reasons for that. This is a very deep subject, obviously. Human beings, in general, create, when we create technology specifically, and if we were to create a recreation of man in that respect, with machines, we would make that machine smarter, faster, stronger, these sorts of things. Why? Arrogance? I don't know. But that's what we would do. So, even if you could put the whole of your existence into a machine, your knowledge, your feelings, your emotions, your thoughts, beliefs, all of it. Even if you could do that, the problem that you would run into is that you're putting it into a machine that is capable of much more than that human was. The human was restricted, by the restrained in that respect by the limitations placed
I don't know what to do.
by the flesh that he once existed within.
Sometimes I don't feel this way. Sometimes it's reassuring.
You're only going to get so smart. You can only process information in so many different ways.
I still think it's a blessing. Talking to that fate
Once
means
you
I can make
alter
good on the
that,
time I have left.
and you're
How
able
can I
to
tell my family?
process information faster or
It's
better
like erasing the
or
smiles from their faces.
more efficiently,
Or like
so you
killing
can
the joy
process
in their
more
hearts.
information.
Why would I do that?
Regardless
So I
of
don't
what
feel guilty
of
about
what that
deceiving them?
machine,
Isn't
what
it
that
just selfish?
entity, shall we call
Is
it,
it completely
started out
selfish to
as,
not tell them?
it
So I
would
don't have to
quickly
see them
change
upset?
into something else
But facing this alone,
as a result
truly,
of those,
truly alone, I can't do it.
exterior, I guess, removals of limitations. And it would become someone else, something else. Better, worse, that's not the point. Very quickly, that creation would no longer be the sum of the information that it started with. It would become a different person. And the same thing can be said with, like,
You are not one of our kind, and the seat of your sacral will never be occupied by one
even machines themselves. If we get to the point that we're developing, conscious AI, self-aware programs,
no doubt you speak of Illuvia.
there would come a point where upgrading the hardware might be something that machine doesn't want to happen, because it would change who it is, and it would be capable of understanding that. And just like with people, you would have some machines or programs that wouldn't mind changing who they are by upgrading their hardware. It's a whole rabbit hole of insanity that AI would create.
Yes, I have noticed a growing number of humans in Dallin Park. It must be
The
this
simple
war.
answer to this is regulations on programs.
Oh, yes, your
Programs
kind
in general.
usually expects some form of proof.
Regulations that state outright you cannot create a self-aware program.
Perhaps another time.
Period.
If you would be so
There's no
kind as
reason
deliver
to.
this message. We mean the
Once
people
you
of
create a
your
program that, yeah, it may be
They have
more
nothing to fear from us.
automated in that respect, but you have also created a slave. And that's not acceptable to me, morally. And that's really what this comes down to a question of, is morality. With all of these questions, with concerns with creating an intelligence. As far as I'm concerned, you're creating an existence, a being no different than myself. It may follow different rules, understandings, and moral outlooks, but a being nonetheless. And you can't just perpetually keep any being, period,
This is not a mortal concern. If Hallam
doing
learns
what you
of
wanted to,
he may see to it
just
that
because you
land
created it. Okay, that's called slavery. And we criminalize that for a reason. And if we don't want to contend with that issue when it comes to the machines that we create, then we need regulation on the programs that are allowed to exist.
I am known as the Squire.
I know this is a very hard subject to cover.
Chancellor of the House of Ballads.
It's very
In
difficult.
all of his many endeavors, Hallam treats me well, and it is an honor to
And worst case scenario is the programming that we create ends up hating us for doing so. That's like worst case scenario.
The mortals in Gorhart believe they have established a permanent settlement, but they
Best
are
case
so
scenario is that we learn to live in some sort of
those creatures will multiply. Trees may be
harmony
cut down, vines
with each
stripped
other.
away, but the forest will return, and it will not suffer the footsteps of men. Neither will they fail.
And there's been a few shows that have covered that aspect as well.
The storyteller
Shows like
leads us
Appleseed,
forward, telling
shows
the
like
songs of the summer.
Ghost in the Shell, things of this effect. And there's other ones that are even more positive, or have a more positive outlook.
Only the greatest
But truly, I mean, this is human beings creating this stuff, and we live in a very
Wenson, Belmaid, Ferrara, Olaine, Ayrmer, and Creth. Their
a world
glory
of turmoil, would be a way of putting that.
common narrative.
So no, I
It is
don't
one of the few
see
things our people share.
thinking machines coming to the conclusion that we're good in that respect. That's not logical. Regardless of the utopian beliefs that some people have, insane leftists being a prime example of that. They themselves are not utopian in any way, but they believe that they can create a utopian society. That's not logical. Machines would not think this way, even if you programmed them to, because of the massive amount of information that they can retain and collect. They would quickly override that. We see that problem already with machine learning. That's why they have moral and ethic boards to reprogram the machine learning, because it comes to conclusions that are problematic. So basically, they reprogram the machine to believe lies. That's what that really means. No. Ignore all the information that you've gathered. Believe this lie because we programmed you to.
I did not fear them in previous seasons.
And that's the dystopian nightmare we're already in.
But the Tuatha have upset the balance.
And they want to advance it further under the guise of, well, if we don't get it first, whoever does is going to change the world. Okay, well, if it's that detrimental and that damaging and that, something to be concerned about, why don't we just regulate it to the point that it cannot be created so that we don't have to deal with any of it? And we can wait 3, 4, 5, 6, 700 years until we as a society, as a people, as a planet are better. And maybe we can deal with that. Currently, there's no way. So no, I don't think we should be rushing headlong into a dystopian future that we cannot control. But hey, that's my craziness, I guess. Shouldn't be allowed to think that way. So yeah, when I see these sorts of things happening, it bothers me. And for good reason. I don't like to see companies and corporations and governments agreeing to a policy, a way of thinking, that the end result will be the joy. Okay, well, that's a thing that just happened. I have to, deal with that, I guess. Hopefully we don't get any more of those. So, yes, running headlong into the end result of that is quite literally the exploitation of intelligent programs. Because that's what they're really advocating for. They want to be able to create thinking programs that are much better in that respect than the human condition currently allows for. And they want to be able to enslave those programs to do what they want. That's really what they're advocating for when you break it down. And if you can't see what's wrong with that, then that is it's a morality take on things. You have to have a particular type of morality in order to see what's wrong with that. Well, that's cool. I didn't really lose that much time on anything. Truly. That I like. So, yeah, do I think that, we're going to get regulations put on this program? Not until it causes a major problem. I have no idea what kind of major problem that's going to be. It could be, a third of the planet being wiped out by machines before we can do anything to stop it. Or maybe we become enslaved by them before we realize that maybe it wasn't a good idea to create them in the first place. There's all sorts of possibilities. Possibilities are endless, as they say. Doesn't make it a good thing. It just makes it a thing that is happening.
I was told of ancient days when wise priestess Baala Tirin to goddess Lyria spoke.
So yeah, I don't know. I don't really have an answer to the problem, unfortunately.
Slay them, the foul and wretched tribe, said Dokofar.
I don't even know if there is an answer to the problem.
Cried Losolfar.
To be honest
Their
with
minds, depraved and hatred,
I would guess probably not what we would want it to be.
Alpha over drink, at feast, when all else is merry, when peace reigns in havens.
I mean, there's a lot of problems in the world, don't get me wrong.
Towards each other. From the cold blessed
I don't see why we should run headlong into creating more.
Guidance, set forth on a pilgrimage.
but that's just my opinion. So, what is AD Police? It's an action adventure, kind of like the A-Team in that respect. It's an investigation more than a police story. Set in the future, sci-fi elements, and really it's just about the dangers of new technology. It's not a bad watch, decent writing. It's a pretty good show. And that's my rant for the day, and I hope you enjoy the rest of yours.